Welcome everyone to the Wellness Superheroes. We are your hosts. I'm Annie, a retired vax-injured nurse.
And I'm Jody, a former corporate zombie and wellness investigator and coach. And we are here today to focus on detoxing using a niacin protocol. And we are welcoming our guest, Kelsey Kenney, who is a molecular biologist, who is an expert at all things detoxing, especially focusing on a protocol that is based on niacin. Is that right? Did I do good, Kelsey?
Yes. And not just detoxing. This stuff can, and its cofactors can really cure a lot of things, can really help a lot of chronic conditions too, and improve everybody's life. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Well, welcome, Kelsey. We're so wrapped to have you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to this point in your life.
Okay. Well, when I was 16, I got really sick with an illness, very rare illness, and almost passed away from that. I really wanted to understand what happened to me and how I got that way, and the factors that led into it. And when I went to college, I thought I'd study biology, and I ended up studying cell and molecular biology and got a minor in chemistry as well. In college and university, we worked on mRNA technology with cell lines too, so I'm familiar with that. So when that came out, I was like, whoa, I know that. Also, I worked in biotech for a little bit until the crash kind of happened. And then for 2 years or so, I worked in the vitamin section of a health food store. So I got a bit of a lot of a naturopathic education. There's a lot of data that you get working in one of those kinds of settings. So also, I am a chronic illness sufferer too. So I've tried just about everything, spent tens of thousands of dollars on different therapies and healing. And also my boy has special needs. I've also spent an additional tens of thousands of dollars on trying to help him be his best self. And the reason why I'm so excited about this niacin protocol is this has got to be the cheapest, most gentlest, most effective, easiest therapy that I've ever come across in all my years of trying to heal myself and my child. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'm amazed, and I'm so happy to be talking about it today.
Oh, we're so happy to have you here. That makes me feel so good. I haven't actually tried it. I have most of the stuff, and I'm very excited to try it because I'm hoping that it's going to continue to help me heal as well. So how did you come up with the whole niacin protocol, or did you come up with it, or did you work with somebody to come up with it?
No, I didn't come up with it. This is I came upon this about maybe 6 months ago on Telegram. I was having some relapse from my Lyme disease, and I cured it the first time with a few things, but second time after moving 4 times in 2 years, and just the stress of that and some other things, and I kind of relapsed, and I didn't want to try the same thing this time. I wanted to try something more effective, easier, and more natural. And I happened to come across this on Telegram when I was telling people, yeah, I think I'm relapsing, and somebody suggested this protocol by Dr. Dmitry Kats, who is a epidemiologist and a master of public health. And he came up with this protocol. He studied while in his graduate work. And then kind of when the pandemic hit, he really understood what was going on. So many pieces clicked for him, and he tried to warn all the government agency what was really going on. He was one of the first telling people what was going on. He tried to warn people, and he was actually really helping people with COVID.
Was that the Niacure? Is that what it was called? Niacure or something like that? I remember
Niacin. Yes.
Okay, I was on that early on. I remember going, this looks like the real deal. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but of course he got drowned out by other things.
Right.
And but he's still around, and the word is spreading, and he's been so suppressed because both sides of the aisle don't want this to get out.
Right.
Yeah, it's too easy. It's too, and anybody could do it. So,
and it's cheap, right? It's not an MLM thing either. It's just it's very inexpensive. You can probably get everything on Amazon or the drugstore, right? You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Well, this is my first time hearing about niacin. Really, I didn't come across that in various threads and things on Telegram over the past 2 years. Heard of plenty of the other things. So what is niacin for those of us who have no idea?
You're right. I hadn't heard of it either. I didn't even know. I had heard of melatonin and a bunch of other things, but the niacin did budesonide. That's a good therapy, but the niacin did not reach me at all. It was pretty much the first time I was hearing, well, not the first time, but I was hearing about it again in great detail. And working at the vitamin store, one of the most common things is people needing to pass drug tests, right? You know, it's like, oh, I've got a job interview, or, you know, or I'm on probation or something like that. And they come in and they want, I need some niacin, right? So I didn't know it at the time, but why does niacin make people pass drug tests? Because it's very common. It works. I heard all the time that it works. And then later on, I heard athletes take it, you know, just before they're about to get tested too. So what does that tell you? All right. And this is all drugs. This is lots of things. This is not just one thing. It can clear a lot of things. So what does that tell you is that niacin is an excellent detox. It will clear this from your system in these mega doses super duper fast. So
is it naturally occurring, or is it like a derivative of a vitamin or something?
Yes, it's naturally occurring. It's very hard to get therapeutic doses in your diet though, without supplementing. It's probably highest found in tobacco. The nicotinic
acid, right? Nicotinic acid is
where it's from. Yes.
Wow.
I remember Dr. Artis talked about this a little bit when he was talking about the whole venom thing, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not just chewing the gum. That's not going to work, you know, and it's addictive too. We don't want to be doing that. Right. The thing that's therapeutic about the tobacco is the burning of it. The oxidation takes it from nicotine to niacin. So when they actually looked at the data, the COVID data, they found that smokers just weren't getting COVID. And that's so paradoxical, isn't it? And they thought maybe it was the nicotine, but it's not, because when you burn the nicotine, it turns into niacin. So a pack a day smoker will actually get about 30 to 40 milligrams of niacin. And the RDA, the registered daily value, or I don't remember, is only about 16 milligrams. So your average smoker is actually getting more niacin than you are. And better protected against COVID.
I remember learning that smokers weren't getting sick, right? And when I was coaching people, like nobody was a smoker. And then they were trying to encourage everyone to stop smoking during the pandemic. Do you remember that? They were really pushing it.
That's right, they were too.
So,
no way. Light bulb.
Wow.
Yeah, now you know why. Yeah. And why nicotine works a little bit, just a little bit, but you have to burn it. And you know, why smoke cigarettes? Just take the niacin.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Then you're not getting in the tar. But even with all the tar, even if all the extra things that combustion does, it's still that niacin that you're getting better, that it is going to protect you against all that. It's going to make up for it. It's a net positive, even if you're smoking like something not so great. Of course, you know, if you're going to smoke like American Spirits. I make my husband buy the organic tobacco, but even with your standard brand, it's better than nothing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're even trying to lower, I think they're even trying to lower the amount of nicotine in cigarettes too. I think the Biden administration was looking to do that as well. And then, you know, menthol too is anti-inflammatory. So I think they were thinking about banning, I don't know if they did it, but they were thinking about banning menthol cigarettes as well.
Yeah, wow. Gosh.
Yeah.
So niacin is a derivative of nicotine. Where else is
Yeah,
it
that's
found?
where it comes from. It's found in, I think, in meat and I think leafy greens as well, but also in corn. But that's another interesting story, is that the corn must be processed with a base, with alkali first, like the Native Americans used to do, before the niacin is usable. Otherwise, it results in a net niacin deficiency. But of course, they don't do that to our corn anymore. So people are getting very niacin deficient just from the amount of corn we consume in this country.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I think I read, that we were so deficient in niacin and other B vitamins as well, right?
Oh, okay, so it's in line with B vitamins, is it, or is it
B3, it's B3.
Oh, it's B3. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So tell us, Kelsey, why we need to detoxify and why this particular protocol is so crucial for that.
Okay, well, we need to detoxify because we are getting hit with more stressors than ever. I mean, stress from the pandemic, stress from, the economy, the news, excess toxins, chemtrails, poor diet, poor food, hormone disruptors, you name it. And detox is a must in this day and age. And and with these B vitamins, that's going to help you do it. And really what niacin is and its friends, it's allowing the flow of energy this is just in a nutshell, to start moving again, to stop being stagnant, because inflammation is excess stuck energy. And over time, over a lifetime, unless you get struck by lightning and you get a huge, jolt at once, and then 4 years later they find that people get struck by lightning have neurodegenerative disease. Instead of that, it's more spaced out over time, and over time your body's not getting rid of this excess energy, and you're building up inflammation after inflammation. And your body can't do that. You're not exercising enough, and then you feel worse, so you can't exercise enough, and it's compounding. And you end up getting really sick, and with stagnant excess energy that's not coming out through exercise, that's not being handled properly, and that's where illness and aging, and when you get to the late stages, we're talking dementia, cancer, tumorigenesis, and neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So Kelsey, tell us, I believe that this protocol has kind of evolved over time, right? To kind of figure out what the best way to detox all of the toxins that we're being hit with and stressors like you're talking about. So tell us, as of right now, what's in the protocol, and we'll show like a screenshot or something, a picture of all of it, so people can know what to go get if they decide to try this. So, and I don't know if you have examples there or not, but tell us what's on the protocol.
Okay, so I don't know if you see that. Okay, so we have niacin, and this is how much you're going to love niacin. You're going to start buying these, these pounders here. Trust me, it's fantastic. Okay, we have plain old folic acid. This is a fancy brand here, but you know what? Your Walmart shelf will do just fine in most cases. This is fine. This is folic acid. This is about $5 or $6.
And folic acid is another B vitamin, right?
Yeah. So we have B3, okay, and then we have B6 peroxidine. All right, another $5 or $6 one right there.
Yeah.
And B9 folate, and lastly B12. Okay, cyanocobalamin, 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay, Tesla, generated 3, 6, 9, 12. They forgot the 12.
Yeah,
or they purposely, left out the 12. But this is the key, and the protocol is evolved because it took Dr. Kats this long to find that the most upstream root of the problem. He's gone through a few like vitamin E, selenium. What else?
Turmeric, right? Curcumin, right? Was on there, right?
Yeah, I think curcumin was on there.
Melatonin.
Melatonin, yes. And creatine, I think. TMG was on there at some point. But those were all downstream. So finally, through the research and just digging into the articles, he finally surmised, going through hundreds of articles of research, that upstream of all that, you take these bees and that takes care of all these other things.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Wow. So it's
Yeah.
it's even cheaper than when I first talked to you, I knew it was evolving, right? So, which is, to me, that's somebody who really is wanting to help people, because you have to figure it out, right? And test it on people, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and he was constantly asking us, like, what are your doses? How are you doing? Because obviously this doesn't have a lot of money behind it. We don't have these, university tests and FDA tests and NIH backing or anything like that. So he's depending on his community of about 10,000 to report back to him, how they're feeling and what's going on. And meanwhile, he's digging through the research and looking at the molecular processes of all this. And he found, the root things that were missing,
right,
that could really heal people, and at the right forms too. He went through a few different forms of bees, and thank goodness for us, they were the cheapest ones. The ones that they've been slowly trying to convince you are no good, when they've been actually keeping us upright for many years, preventing autism, preventing neural tube defects. I mean, that's just folic acid right there, preventing anemia. And I remember this working at the vitamin, shop maybe like 12 years ago or so. They were already starting this, trying to say that folic acid's bad, and you have MTHFR, and suddenly everybody's got MTHFR. It's like half the population. What's that about? How did we live so long with this supposed mutation?
Right.
And they're saying like, oh, methylfolate's better. Well, methylfolate's made by Merck, if you didn't know that. So all these patented branded versions of vitamins, or they're trying to tell you that cyanocobalamin is cyanide, and it's like, well, it's a carbon molecule and a nitrogen molecule. So, and it's tightly bound. So maybe, I guess technically it's got like a minuscule amount, but your body handles that. Your body knows what to do with it. So these happen to be the cheapest. And when I was sick, I always knew I had this gnosis, and for my child too. I was like, I just knew. I said, I know that the cure out there, it's going to be cheap, it's going to be simple, it's going to be easy. I knew that, and I just had to find it. I had to just spend tens of thousands of dollars to do that, to finally get it. Yeah.
And that's kind of very similar to the way the wizard was thinking too. Like, it has to be something really cheap or free, or really close to that. Right. Because anything else is, well, we just want to heal ourselves, right? That's all we care about, is healing everybody, I think. So tell me, so it sounds like it helps anybody heal from anything. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, what doesn't it help? Oh my gosh. The gunshot wounds, decapitation, dismemberment. Probably.
You sound like Andreas Kalker. That's what he said about CDS. He was saying, I think he said it doesn't heal narcissism and psychopathy and tyranny.
Well, I don't know. We don't have the data yet. So, but, maybe if we give some of these dark lords some Niacin, they'll cool their jets. Who knows?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. So it was successful for COVID, correct? Yeah. And when people took it for COVID, was it a quick recovery time?
Yeah, and very non-toxic too. You can't overdo it like a pharmaceutical. You'll just literally just pee it out. Your body will take what it needs. It's the precursor for all the other forms of it in your body. Let your body decide what to do. And if you do need niacinamide, niacin and we'll make that. If you do need methylfolate, folic acid will be able to make that. But it has to be your body doing it. You can't skip those steps.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's so important what you just said. So I think too, now I have to, tell you Kelsey knows this, my experience. So years ago when I was going to see a functional medicine doctor, and she diagnosed me like metabolic something or another. And she, I spent a fortune on her, and she gave me this protocol. And one of the things was niacin, which I guess I had never taken in a high dose, which is what this is, a higher dose. And she didn't tell me what to expect. Because when you do take niacin, you have what they call a niacin flush. And anybody who's taken niacin, I guess, knows this, right? High doses niacin. I didn't know this. She didn't warn me. And I took the first, I took a whole bunch of different, pills, nutraceuticals that she had prescribed for me or whatever. And then I went to the movie theaters. And I get there and I'm like, oh my God. And I look and I'm like, I'm all red and like splotchy. And I thought I was having an allergic reaction, and my heart started racing, and I was looking through my purse to find a Benadryl, and I completely freaked out because I thought I was going into anaphylactic shock, because I didn't know that niacin, creates this, what they call a niacin flush, right? And so I reacted, which probably made it worse, and I found a Benadryl. I mean, they had to call the ambulance and everything, but by the time they got there, they checked my vitals and they were like, you're fine, and I was like, because I really thought I was dying, and I've had anaphylactic shock once, and it was similar symptoms, that I thought, right? Because my mind was going crazy, because I didn't know what to expect. So, and I know, like, when I went out and bought it on Amazon, people were going, oh my God, I had an allergic reaction, because they didn't know. So tell people, if they decide to do something like this, what to expect and what to do if you get a too strong of a reaction with the flush.
Okay. Well, firstly, you have to be prepared, make sure you're not going anywhere. And this is
Right.
just the first few times, right? This is going to go away. Make sure you have all 4 Bs, because they need to be together to make it more gentle. Also, go ahead and take, I would recommend if you're first starting out, one would probably do about 500 milligrams. You don't want to underdose it either. Just be prepared for what's going to happen. Stay home and just know that flush isn't just a side effect. That's the healing happening. That's that extra energy, all that redness, that blood flow, that increased heart rate. That's more energy flowing again through you. And it's coming out, and it's been stagnant for ages. And your first couple of times, that's just the surface of it. You're going to stop flushing. And then after like 3 or 4 doses, 3 or 4 days of doses, and you're going to get it deep into your tissues, into your fat cells, into your brain. And then the real therapeutic doses and the real therapy begins.
Wow.
And if you do, but again, people do get a little anxious about that. They think they're having an allergic reaction, but I will tell you, if you were allergic to niacin, you wouldn't be here right now. You wouldn't even make it past the embryos stage, or even further. This is a building block of life. You're literally, everything in your body needs energy to function, and you need the proper energy management molecule, which is niacin, to keep things moving in a current, to not stagnant. And it's the healing effect. So you could have some aspirin on hand, just in case you get really afraid, and you just cannot calm yourself down, and you're perturbating, and you're starting to feel afraid. You can take aspirin, and that should shut down the flush, but it's also going to shut down the therapy, because they are kind of one and the same at the onset.
So an aspirin would be like a full aspirin, like 325 milligrams, or could you take a low dose aspirin, like 81 milligram?
I'm not sure about that. I think your standard aspirin tablet is probably about 300 milligrams. And you have to take it about 20 minutes after a meal too, on a full stomach. Don't take it on an empty stomach. So that's one precaution you have to take. And that'll, we can post the protocol so you can see how to do that. But yeah, take it at the right dose.
Yeah, I was thinking too, we're doing an ebook for the touchstone protocols. And I'm thinking, if you're okay with this, it would be great if we could do one for this, if you haven't already done something like that,
Yeah, we
like
can do that.
I shared with you. That way people have support, and then they have questions. And then I know you've got, at the end, we'll talk about, you've got a couple of Telegram threads that we could share, for people who have questions, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's amazing. I can't believe I haven't even heard of this. Like until Jody mentioned it to me a few weeks ago, I just
Yeah.
was not even on the radar. Like you say, I love that analogy, Kelsey, that you talk about the stagnation of energy. That's such a powerful analogy.
It is. It is. And so, is there any contraindications of somebody who has a certain issue can't do this, or what about children or pregnant women, anything like that?
I think just about anybody could do it. Animals, I have my chickens on it, my cats on it. It's
Oh,
just a matter of
wow.
dosages. Yeah, it's just a matter of dosages and getting the dosage right for your weight.
Hmm.
Um, but it's pretty much good for everybody, and you literally cannot be allergic to this. And as long as you're getting a pretty pure tablet with not a lot of extra fillers,
Hmm.
you probably are not going to be allergic to anything on here. Oh, you aren't. The four B's,
Right.
just the four B's
Right.
straight. Yeah.
Well, and I was speaking with you earlier, and I was talking about going and getting IV therapy from this place that I used to go to, and you were saying if they can do it, to do all the B vitamins, right? The 3, 6, 9 and 12, and that would be a good foundation, right, for someone as well to do something like that if they could afford it.
I think so. Yeah. Intravenous niacin is very healing. And then if you could do a sauna 20 minutes after, or do some exercise with it, exercise and sauna go are like buddy buddy. Not niacin and niacin and sauna are buddy buddy, niacin and exercise are buddy buddy. It's just helping the flow of that energy, and that's
Wow.
pretty much what breath work's based on. Acupuncture, yoga, meditation. It's all about like the flow of energy, and
Right.
niacin is just another way to do that, and a very easy way that almost anybody can do without
Wow.
special training. Yeah.
Right.
So you
Exactly.
mentioned that you use this to help with your Lyme disease. What other conditions would this protocol be good for? I mean, I know you kind of said, everything but the kitchen sink, but like some specific, like chronic, well-known,
Like heart disease. Like, what about
pneumo,
heart
yeah,
disease?
that sort of
Yeah.
stuff.
Heart disease.
Well, it is used as a prescription for heart disease. It was one of the most well prescribed. The prescription version was one of the most prescribed cholesterol lowering drugs until 2007, when they decided statins would be more profitable.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so yes, it can help cardiovascular disease. It can help with long COVID. It can help with pharmaceutical damage. It can help with there's studies for MRSA. It's an anti-parasitic. It's anti-infective. It's a nutrient. It's so many things. It's a detox. Um,
What
it's
about cancer? Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Although we're
yeah.
not allowed to say that, right, Annie? Like,
Yeah.
we're not.
There are testimonies there are testimonials on the Telegram thread of that condition. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
wow.
And fibromyalgia, Lyme disease, MS, chronic conditions, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, I think I said long COVID already, COVID, all sorts of things.
Wow.
There's testimonials for. Yeah.
That's amazing. So we talk about the testimonials. So what about the science? So you were mentioning that Dr. Katz had, was just comparing a whole bunch of literature studies on the different vitamin Bs and the niacin and all that sort of stuff. So can you name a couple that are your favorite, that are like really pinpoint the difference or the benefits that niacin offers?
Yeah, I think there was some of it is kind of old too, because and it's just coming out recently. But one study that he found, and he's great at just going through hundreds of studies, and there isn't a lot, because they don't want you to know about this really, but there is some. There's studies on, they had some puppies. Is one of his favorites, and they fed them basically. They were experimenting with different bees in their diet, and they noticed that if they fed them what was it, pesticide, and then gave them the bees, that it would rescue them. And the puppies that didn't get the B vitamins, poor puppies, they did not make it. And then they kind of, is a very nice study, and they kind of adjusted the thing to figure out what was saving these puppies, and then what could we take out and the puppies would still live, kind of thing. And it turns out they needed niacin, they needed folic acid, they needed B12 and B6. Yes. Also, what else? They were curing polio back in the 40s too with niacin and vitamin E, polio paralysis.
Wow.
Yeah. So no iron lung there, but you're not going to hear about that on the news.
No,
Yeah.
color me shocked. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, and this is the thing too, because people don't understand that, and you being a molecular biologist, you'd be really familiar and au fait with research and studies and all that sort of stuff. And people think that that's like gospel, right? It's like, oh, what peer-reviewed studies or what literature is there on it? It's like, you don't understand that that's literally the money laundering process of the medical industry, right? It's like, here, we'll fund you to do this because we want to release this drug, pretty much, right?
Right. And some studies are even to discredit niacin's power too. Like they'll use a branded version like Niaspan, which was actually toxic to the liver. It had some kind of proprietary binder that was negating the effects and making people, get liver damage from it. But they just call it niacin, or they'll use niacinamide and call it niacin, but it's not the same thing. And then they'll say, oh, niacin's bad, niacin's no good, but it's not niacin, not by a long shot. So there's even these counter studies that can really obfuscate the waters, and you really have to be paying attention to suss that out, essentially.
Yeah, wow.
Dr. Kats has been highly targeted because of this, correct?
Yeah, he's been banned off of Twitter several times. I think he's banned again late, as of yesterday or the day before, because he's going off. He's going against the pharmaceutical industry. He's going against the FLCC, which, has a bunch of pharmaceuticals on there when you look at it. He's going against some of the naturopaths too that are giving people not quite niacin with other supplements and stuff like that. Yeah, he's made a lot of enemies, and there's a lot of money behind these, like billions and trillions of dollars worth of opposition here, basically. And I feel for him.
I've noticed when I've been on his Telegram thread, there's so many shills in there, right? It's ridiculous. Like, you're just like, oh my God, this is how you know, like, something is really good, when they're just constantly sending in people to attack you or make you seem crazy or just discredit you, which I know happened with Dr. Bartlett when he came out with his budesonide protocol in the beginning of COVID. I mean, they tried so hard to discredit him. And they had complaints, from the medical board and like anonymous complaints, and just all this crazy stuff, planted fake stories about him. I mean, it was nuts.
Yep. When you mention this kind of thing, you'll get, bots coming out, you'll get paid people. They have a whole division of, people paid by the pharmaceutical industry to infiltrate his groups and like groups to counter this. And I've been banned off a few Telegram channels for bringing stuff like this up.
I know.
So I only got a small taste of it. YouTube. I only got a small taste of it. I can't imagine that he's been doing this for 2 years.
I know.
Over 2 years now. And also, and they've even tried to institutionalize him I think at the beginning of COVID or maybe just before, but when he started talking about this. So I feel for the guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what the catalyst was that he stumbled across niacin, or all this sort of stuff about the benefits of niacin?
Sure. In his graduate work, he actually spent took out more loans and spent more time because he was so fascinated by this concept of why do we degenerate? Why do we get sick? Why do we get cancer? Why do we age? And he was doing studies with elderly people and dementia, and seeing what factors were staving off dementia. And he was specifically looking at exercise and some other factors, and smoking too. Okay, so he found that exercise is really good at staving off dementia, and he wanted to figure out, like, why is that? Why is that really? And what is exercise? It's potential energy turning into kinetic energy. It's keeping it moving so it doesn't stagnate and cause inflammation, and that inflammation is not going to get so high that it's building up in the brain.
Wow.
And then he started like looking into electricians and what happens when they get electrocuted, and how's their outcome when they get, or people get hit by lightning, what happens to them? Oh, they get neurodegenerative disease, they get Parkinson's later, they get Alzheimer's later. Why is that? It's because they had this huge jolt of energy that their body was never able to properly deal with, and it keeps building up and building up. He was trying to figure out the molecular reasons for that, and it dawned on him when he started looking at the smoking factor. And he was like, wait a minute. And then he was looking at cancer, and they told him, don't look at cancer. No, don't, just dementia, right? So he started looking at cancer, and he noticed that, wait a minute, the smokers aren't getting cancer. Like, they have a lower rate of cancer, except for lung cancer. And this doesn't apply to the dementia, just the cancer aspect. But he started like, that's counterintuitive. And he started thinking, like, why is that? What's in the cigarettes that's stopping people from getting all cancers but lung cancers and reducing all cause mortality? And it came upon him that it was not the nicotine, it was the niacin, it was the burning of that. And it just went on from there. And his supervisor, or whatever you call it, the guy above him, did not want him to look into this. But he was persistent, and he found all this research, and he found this amazing hypothesis of, this is why we age, this is why we get sick, is because we have this stagnant energy, and the niacin's being depleted from our diet. And we all have, everybody sick right now basically has various versions of niacin and other B vitamin deficiencies.
Wow.
So that's how he came upon it. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, and he's not very old, is he? He's actually pretty young, isn't he?
He's 36.
Yeah,
he's about my age, but he stayed extra in school just to look into this, and took out more lunch just to look into this. Amazing research.
Very dedicated person.
A true scientist. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about, follow the science. That's what this is. This whole thing is about following the real science.
The real science, exactly.
The real science. Wow, this is amazing. And so, also, Kelsey, didn't you say there's also niacin baths that you can do that are also very detoxifying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the niacin baths. It feels just great. It's a great rescue. And when you start buying it in bulk like this, it's about a half a cup to a cup, or I just do it by handful and put it in there, and it is so nice, and it's so good for your skin. And let me tell you about the side effects too. I have more energy, I feel better, and my child is better, and I was able to take him off of one pharma that I was really wanting to take him off of too, because it's involved with learning and memory and stuff like that. So I really didn't want him to having to be taking that forever. So with niacin, I was able to do that. He gets niacin baths. It's great. If you want, you can inhale it, is an awesome thing. If you have a little like pocket nebulizer, it's good. A little ultrasonic thing. I have one. It can be used as an enema.
So how would you use that? With you'd use the powder and put it in there with water, or?
Yeah, you just take a little pinch. If you want to weigh it out with a scale, you can. But let's see if I have.
And like you would put it like in saline or something like that,
or distilled water. Just
distilled water, and same. It's the easiest. Yeah, and also it's the easiest enema of your life too, is just a pinch of niacin and distilled water. You can even buy an enema off the shelf, dump it out, put distilled water, put a little niacin in there, and hold it as long as you can. And that's an excellent way to get in your body too. Niacin lotion, niacin mouthwash. There's so many possibilities. It's so gentle. It's so good for you. I smell better. I sleep better. I don't have to wear deodorant anymore. What else? What other things have I noticed? Oh, my tinnitus went away. I mean, it's just things that I just learned to live with. My periods
Oh,
got regular
wow.
again. I was having them every 3 weeks, which was annoying. Now they're regular. Just so many things that I just learned to live with, nice and fixed, because I was
Mm.
just deficient so long. You get used to it.
Yeah. Well, I remember too, Kelsey, you telling me, I think it was yesterday, when I realized this specific drug that everybody was taking for COVID, which will remain nameless, like Voldemort. I was taking a animal injectable form, rubbing it on my belly, because someone said that I should do that, which I should not have trusted. And I did that, and not good. That's not good, because that's probably the most easiest way can get into your bloodstream, I believe. And so you were telling me to counteract that, because I feel like I still have symptoms from that, even from a year ago, and inflammation and pain. And you were saying just to add it to this, just like a plain lotion, right? Like a lotion, and just rub it there, stuff like that, right?
Sure, you can mix it into your cleanest lotion and apply it topically. Just just make sure there's nothing too wild in there that's going to act as a niacin inhibitor.
Right.
But yeah, you can just put it right on your belly, and you can take it in so many ways, and it'll cure damage, because that stuff that you were just talking about does not leave your system. It continues to affect you even years later sometimes. And if you're still taking it, you're gonna slowly see degeneration, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yes.
if it detoxes, like you were talking about Alzheimer's in the brain, so if it helps with people who have Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, that would mean then that it passes the blood-brain barrier?
It does. Yeah, it's a very small molecule, and it can, all four of them are small enough to pass through the blood-brain barrier. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow. What I mean, and does our body in its optimal environment generally synthesize types of vitamin B anyway?
One example I know of is that niacin is so important for the body, is that your body has a few what's called salvage pathways. Okay. And this is why people don't immediately keel over once they're niacin deficient. It's because your body has a few backups, because it's so important. One of them is in your gut, turning tryptophan into niacin so you could use it. But you need that tryptophan, and it does it only 1/30th of the rate. And then it's also a bit of a kiss curse too, because it creates it creates more of something else, of what's called niacinamide, so which can interfere with the action. And also you need that tryptophan to make serotonin and melatonin and those other things too. So you'd prefer not to have to use that pathway, but your body will do that. And when the tryptophan gets low, when even that stops working, that's when you start seeing DNA damage, tumorigenesis, cell disruption. Very, very bad news if that pathway goes.
Wow. And so I'm just curious, because you said that you had experience with the mRNA vaccine and stuff. So what is niacin's effect on, say, injuries and detoxification from all the junk they stick in those?
Yep, that'll help you from the effects of those. Yes.
Oh, wow. So
from any shot, from any of the shots, including the flu
the
shot,
mRNA and all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Whatever's in there, because it may be, who knows, it may be a witch's brew.
They pretty much all are, aren't they?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen the episodes of Stu's Brew, right, with the microscope photos, and you're like, oh, what is it this week? But whatever it is, niacin will help it. So
Yeah.
worry not.
Wow.
Oh my God. Yeah. So
you go, Jody. Sorry.
I was going to say, so is there anything that is a contraindication, like as far as like if somebody's taking something, or you have to take something away from it, far enough away from it, any kind of drug or supplement interaction?
I would say don't take things that are similar, like some of the ones we talked about. You don't want to take high polyphenols, maybe. And there's some diet guidelines on the protocol too, but they're minimal. They're not super strict. And of course, like with anything, you probably don't want to take charcoal or at the same time, or something that could absorb it and negate its effects. If you're taking a capsule, you want to minimize fillers. Things like that. Again, you want to be home for your first few flushes. Have some aspirin ready if you think that you might have, a little bit of anxiety with the therapy. So,
Okay, so
but
on
otherwise,
that,
it's very safe.
let's talk about the flushes then. What are the sort of stock standard typical symptoms of a flush? Is it essentially like a Herxheimer reaction, or is it a little bit different?
No, I wouldn't say it's like quite a Herxheimer reaction. It's more like, again, it's that excess energy that's been building up over illness and damage, and it's just the surface and your first few times, and you're going to feel usually tingling in your ear. You're going to get red, sometimes splotchy red. You're going to be very itchy. Okay, but all that itchy is that's energy leaving your body. It's good for you. Go with it. You can scratch. Go ahead. Just not too hard. Just if you want to do dry
it feels
brushing
like an
or go in
allergic
the sauna.
reaction, like you break out in a rash, or something like
And
that.
that's
right?
why your body does that, right?
Yeah.
Why does your body react like that? It's because it's detoxing whatever it didn't like that you put in. It's trying to get it out.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what happened to so many people who took the shots. They broke out in a rash, because there was so much toxicity in that. So that's really flushing it's almost like it's flushing all of the stagnant energy and hidden toxins that you might not even know you have, right? And pushing them to the surface to get out of your body, right?
Yeah, and if it's releasing toxins at the same time, I don't know, but it's binding them, it's taking care of them, and it's giving your body the energy to take care of them, because you do need to put in ATP and energy to be able to modify those toxins, bind them, and then flush them out of your body. So that's what's nice. It's providing.
So do they come out through sweat? And I'm assuming your digestive system as well? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, urinary, liver, sweat, and then just the heat too is letting off that excess energy again, because heat is a form of energy. Excess histamine too. The histamine is, that's been building up, that people talk about mast cell all the time, and maybe that's a little passe, but that's what that is that just excess stagnant energy.
Yeah. Wow. It's funny you mentioned histamine, because that was going to be my next question. I have a friend who has recently discovered that she's got a histamine intolerance. So if it uncaps all these stagnant releases of energy or lack thereof, then something like niacin would probably mitigate that.
It could, yeah. I would look more into it. Maybe that is, she would have to change things a little differently, but I don't know. I feel like it's mostly it's not just the histamine. We don't fully understand exactly what happens in the flesh even, but histamine does play a part of it, and it does help clear it. Yeah,
okay. So then the flush is probably more like a histamine response.
It does. I think it does release a little bit at first, but how should I word this? But it's so much more than that. It's not even fully understood what's going on there. But I think as to just put it generally, it's releasing energy from your body, and that's why you feel your heart go faster. You feel a little sweaty, and then you get the shivers too. That kinetic energy going on. Sometimes that happens. The sweat, the heat, the redness, the excess blood flow. It's energy releasing when it should have done it a long time ago. You're getting it in one go.
Amazing. So on that then, how do we take it? So you've got your bulk pack there. I assume it's in powder form. Do you put them in like empty veggie capsules, or do you mix it in with water? How do you take it?
The best way to take it is to get the purest forms. We'll just start with the best, and then we'll talk about maybe something a little bit easier for other people, but is to get yourself a milligram scale. Okay, and they're on Amazon. They're just about this big, and then they have, up to three decimal places. That's probably good enough. They're not too expensive nowadays. You're going to weigh it out, each of the four, and they're going to put it in 98-degree water or so, about body temperature, and you're going to mix it around and drink it about 25 minutes after a meal or so, and drink about, I don't know, 8 to 16 ounces of water or so. And that's how you do it. If you're not ready to go that and commit and get the milligram scale and everything, you could do it in the capsules. Just try to find the cleanest you can. You can open up the capsules too and put it in water if sometimes you want to change it up.
And it's 500 milligrams, right? 500 milligrams for the niacin. Right.
Yeah, that's the starting dose, but we're talking about that's just your starting dose, but the therapeutic doses, the real therapy, is going to be between 1 to 5 grams, even in some cases, if you're really, really deficient and really ill. Yeah.
Wow. Which would be most people.
Yeah.
It would be most people.
Yeah, exactly. So Kelsey, is there a way to support people who want to try this protocol, where they can either find you or get support? I mean, I think we'll probably maybe do an ebook companion for this, so that people have something, guidelines, and we'll just say guidelines, where, but can they work with you? Can they,
is there a community,
ask questions?
Yeah, you can go to my channel. I've just started it, so there's not much on there yet. You can go to Dr. Kats's studies log, which lists, there's over 3,000 studies on there related to these B vitamins on there. It's a wealth of information. You can go into his testimonials, or you can go to his website, homeostasis.com, but it's spelled with a 3 as in vitamin B. So HOM3 ostasis.com. And then you can sign up for his group. You can book a consult with him if you need extra help. And you can reach out to me too. I'm so excited. I feel pretty comfortable assisting him for free in like just explaining this, because I want this word to get out. What else can you do? Yeah, there's testimonials, there's my channel, and there's the homeostasis website. And of course, I'd love to work with you on an ebook as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So
your Telegram group is called The Thing We Can't, or what is it called?
It's t.me/niacin cures me.
Oh, that's so good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll put the link to everything you've talked about on here before we release this. So
sounds good. Yeah, and the website I think has
pictures. We'll have pictures too of the the different bees, so that people can see this is a typical one that you would get. And we could even link out to the ones on Amazon that you recommend, so they can just go ahead and buy the protocol if they want to.
Yeah, there's a buy-in guide on my site, and on my Telegram channel, and also I think Dr. Kats's website, there's a buying guide in all different countries, because he's figured out where to get these forms in all these different countries. But it's easier than ever now that it's just your standard 4 vitamins and not some weird alternate downstream forms.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? I mean, it's almost as if God was answering, prayers or whatever, because so many people wanted something easy, safe, cheap.
Yeah.
It's pretty magical. Right? There was even a crop circle that had niacin. We should post a picture on that. There was a crop circle with the structure of niacin. Yeah. That blew my mind. And the 36912 thing, you think that's an accident?
No.
I don't think so. No coincidence.
No, it's not an accident. And it's funny too, it's like so many people went down a certain rabbit hole for the last few years. This is the rabbit hole they should have gone down, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not black or white, it's not blue versus red, it's a little both. It's a little terrain theory, it's a little germ theory, it's somewhere in the middle. It's the middle path. It's not natural herbalism versus pharmaceutical medicine. It's somewhere again in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's kind of I know so many people who are all, most of the medical establishment is all 100% germ theory. And then most of the people, awake people, are 100% terrain theory. And it's not that simple, especially based on my own experience of being hit with a bioweapon. You can't, it's neither one of those are going to
Well,
really
and it's
help.
too dualistic anyway. It's too simple and too
Right.
dualistic, and
Right.
nothing in life is so black and white. We know this.
Yeah, because if you clean your terrain, which is great, you can fight probably most things that would hit you if we were living in a normal world, but we're not. Yeah, we're not. So it doesn't work when you're hit with things that aren't natural. So
Yeah. And even if you're not ready to get rid of either side, there's niacin has something for both of you, for both types, because it's anti-infective and it's a beautiful nutrient and it's a building block of life. So terrain people, germ theory people, whatever side you fall on, it's going to help you.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. Awesome.
That's amazing. Wow, this has been so good.
Yeah, I really think an ebook is is in the pipeline. I have lots of reading to do.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Annie is a big researcher, and she's going to be going down this rabbit hole today. Right?
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Good to have you on board. I think you're going to really like this.
I'm so glad you guys got to meet too, because you've both heard so much about the other. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So excited to have Kelsey on board. And an ebook would be amazing. We just we'll just wrap up the one we've got in the pipeline now and then move on to the next. But it's helpful for people who aren't able to spend the hours in research or whatever, for people like us to kind of condense it, present it, and it's like, well, here, if you wanted to verify it, go and have a look. But if you don't have the headspace.
And just helping them, walking them through. I always say, this is what I've done. This is what I'm doing. This has worked for me. This has worked for that. And because people need guidance, and they do not trust the medical industrial complex at all anymore. So they want answers. They need answers. And the number one thing that we need to be doing right now, in my opinion, is detoxing, period.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I think Kelsey said that at the beginning. It's like, in this day and age, we just can't not. Yeah.
Right. You can't.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And your body can do it. It just needs a little, niacin and friends.
Yeah.
Niacin and friends. I love it. Maybe that's what we should call the book.
Oh yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
That's so good. Awesome. Well, thank you, Kelsey, for joining us and sharing your hard-earned studies and research that you've come across to get the word out.
Thank you so much. I hope it's been helpful. Yeah, I was going to come on here with a presentation and studies and everything and diagrams, and I'm just like, no, I'm just going to talk about my experience and kind of just give the concept, and maybe we can get into it more at some point, but I think this is
exactly. I think we're going to have more than one episode about this. I think this is a good introduction to blow people's minds. And then we'll do the ebook, and then that's what we're going to do with the other one. Is we'll have another podcast, and we're going to walk through all the evidence, and or not all of it, but just some of it, and then walk through the ebook so people have this, they can really feel comfortable about trying something like this, and they have support.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And we'll have your access to your Telegram group in the chat. Is there anywhere else in particular that you drive people to find you and what your and your content?
Well, if you go on the Niacin channel, there's also I've listed my other channel too, which warns against some of the pharmaceutical interventions for these chronic diseases. But for now, that's all I can think of.
Yeah, awesome. No worries. Wonderful. Well, thanks, Kelsey. We'll have you on again for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you, ladies.